God told Moses, "Say to the Israelites, I am the Lord, and I will bring you out from under the yoke of the Egyptians. I will free you from being slaves to them, and I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and with mighty acts of judgment. I will take you as my own people, and I will be your God. Then you will know that I am the Lord your God, who brought you out from under the yoke of the Egyptians, and I will bring you to the land I swore with uplifted hand to give to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. I will give it to you as a possession. I am the Lord." Maybe we forget or fail to realize the significance of the Exodus. When God brought Israel out of slavery in Egypt, he was doing something truly unique in the history of all the nations on earth. Lots of different nations claimed lots of different gods as their own. Even the nations who worshipped whole pantheons of gods would usually claim one or more as particularly theirs. But no god had ever claimed a nation for itself. No god had ever reciprocated the relationship, because no god exists except for the God. And the God who exists claimed a nation for himself. He had promised that he would, and so he did, and he proved his choosing of Israel with amazing and undeniable miracles. With the Exodus, for the first time ever, God declared himself the God of one particular people, and he gave them the opportunity to claim him as their own, rather than inventing a God and claiming it and hoping for that to mean something at some point. Israel was claimed by the only God who is real, and it immediately meant everything for them. Until they forgot. They failed to realize the significance of all that. They strayed from the God who is and claimed this, that, and the other God. Gods who aren't, gods who would never claim them back, gods who would mean nothing to them, nothing but sins against the God who is, nothing but idolatry. And in order to help them remember and realize what it was that they were throwing away by chasing gods that aren't, the God who is sent Hosea the prophet to marry a prostitute and preach a sermon with his life about Israel's unfaithfulness and God's claim on them. And the third child born to Hosea and the prostitute Gomer was a baby boy, and God named the boy, saying, "Call him Lo-Ammi," which means "not my people, for you are not my people, and I am not your God." Israel was in danger. They chose spiritual danger for themselves by claiming false gods in place of the real one, because only the God who is can be anyone's God. And by rejecting the God who is, Israel was un-exodusing itself, backing themselves right back into slavery, not to the Egyptians, who actually still did exist, but to gods that don't, and to sin that does, sin that lasts forever, sin that eternally separates us from the God who is. And the God who is responded by doing something truly unique. Again, unique to him. He is the only God who is, and therefore is the only God who cares about the danger we put ourselves in with our sin. He is the only God who rescues us from it. And so he is the only God who calls out to us. He is the only God who invites us to turn away from sin, to turn back to him. He is the only God who can claim us as his own and invite us to claim him as our own. And he doesn't just ask. He is the only God who can talk, but he's not all talk. He does it. He makes it so. He spoke the universe into being and claimed Israel for himself and made them his. He can do it again. He promises to. Immediately after naming Lo-Ammi and warning his people of the danger of their sin, he says, in the place where it was said to them, "You are not my people," they will be called children of the living God. We often forget. We fail to realize. God doesn't. So he reminds us of the danger and of his rescue. He reminds us that we are his. He reminds us that we can call him ours, and he wins us for himself and gives himself to us in Jesus. You and I are dust and breath, loved by God, bought by Jesus. This podcast is written and produced by me, Ethan Cherney, a Wells pastor serving Our Savior Lutheran Church in Pomona, California. Get in touch on Facebook at Dust and Breath Pod, on Twitter at Dust Breath Pod, or by emailing dustandbreathpod@gmail.com. Outro music arranged and performed by Mr. Peter Shawi, who is like streams in the Negev. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you could leave a review in iTunes or just share an episode on social media, I'd really appreciate it. It's the only way other people can find the show. Now, go do what God made you to do. Be who God called you to be. Go see what God can do with dust and breath and faith in Jesus, his Son.